dive into today's episode, I just want to remind you to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support means the world to us. It helps us grow, reach more amazing learners like you, and keep bringing you fresh and fun content every week. So don't forget, like, subscribe, and let's keep this journey going strong. Hello, brilliant idiom explorers, and a very warm welcome back to another insightful episode of Idiom Insights. I'm Emma, your enthusiastic guide, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be here with you again, ready to delve into the fascinating nuances of some more common English phrases. It's always a pleasure to share this learning journey with you as we navigate the colorful world of English.
And I'm Jack, your co-host and ever-curious word detective, here to help unravel the meanings and perhaps share a chuckle or two as we explore the rich landscape of idiomatic English. It's wonderful to be back in the Idiom Insights studio, Emma, and a big hello to all our fantastic listeners around the world. Thanks for tuning in for another dose of idiom discovery.
It's always a joy, Jack. Today, we've selected 4 incredibly useful and vivid idioms that you'll undoubtedly encounter in everyday English. Understanding these will not only significantly boost your comprehension, but also provide you with more natural and expressive ways to communicate your own thoughts and observations. These phrases cover practical guidelines, saving for the future, causing trouble, and the value of action over words.
A truly excellent and varied mix today, Emma. These are idioms that really add character and depth to conversation. Here are the 4 idioms we'll be diving into in this episode of Idiom Insights. First, a practical guideline for making estimations, rule of thumb. Second, a wise piece of advice about saving things for a future time of need. Save it for a rainy day. Third, an expression for deliberately causing trouble or arguments in a situation. Stir the pot. And finally, a proverb emphasizing that actions are more important than promises. Talk is cheap.
Those are all fantastic and very common idioms, Jack. Each one paints a very clear picture and is used frequently, so understanding them will be incredibly beneficial for our listeners as they engage in English conversations and encounter these phrases in media.
I couldn't agree more. They're all very practical and insightful. And before we delve into the intricacies of our first idiom, a quick and sincere request from both of us here at Idiom Insights. If you're finding these episodes valuable for your English learning journey and you enjoy our explorations, please take a moment to subscribe or follow our podcast on your preferred listening platform.
Yes, subscribing is the best way to ensure you don't miss any of our future idiom adventures and linguistic discoveries. And if you're feeling extra supportive, a like or a positive rating on your podcast platform truly helps other English learners discover Idiom Insights. We are so grateful for your engagement and continued support. It really fuels our passion for this.
It genuinely makes a massive difference. Thank you all for being part of our community. Right then, Emma, are you ready for our first idiom, which sounds like a very practical guideline?
Let's do it! Our first idiom for this episode of Idiom Insights is rule of thumb.
Rule of thumb. This is an interesting one. It sounds a bit strange. Is it an actual rule involving your thumb? What does this idiom mean, Emma?
That's a great question, Jack, and the origin is quite interesting, though a bit debated. A rule of thumb is a general principle, a practical guideline, or a rough estimate that is based on experience rather than precise science or a strict rule. It's a handy, approximate method for doing something that works in most situations, but isn't meant to be perfectly accurate.
So it's a broad, practical piece of advice, not a scientific law. The origin is thought by some to relate to old measurement practices, where a craftsman might use the width of their thumb as a rough guide for an inch. It's approximate, but good enough for many practical purposes.
Precisely. So if you're cooking and a recipe says add salt to taste, a good rule of thumb might be to start with half a teaspoon for a particular dish. It's not a strict rule, but a good starting point based on general experience. It's about practical wisdom rather than exact calculation.
It sounds like it's used when you need a quick, easy way to make a judgment without having all the exact data. For example, a good rule of thumb for budgeting might be the 50-30-20 rule. 50% of your income for needs, 30% for wants, and 20% for savings. It's not perfect for everyone, but it's a useful guideline to start with.
Exactly. It's a principle that provides a simple, memorable way to approach a problem or make a decision when a precise calculation is unnecessary or too complicated. It's a very common and useful concept in many areas of life, from gardening to finance to cooking.
Okay, so a rule of thumb is a broadly accurate guideline or principle based on practice rather than precise theory. Ready to hear Mia and Mark use this idiom?
Let's listen in. I wonder what practical guideline they might be discussing.
Mark, I'm trying this new recipe for baking bread, but it's a bit vague. It just says knead the dough until it's smooth and elastic, but I'm a complete beginner, so I have no idea how long that's supposed to take. Is it 5 minutes? 20 minutes?
Yes, bread recipes can be like that. The exact time can depend on the type of flour, the humidity in the room, even how strongly you knead. There isn't really a single, precise answer.
So how am I supposed to know when it's ready? I'm worried I'll either not knead it enough or knead it for too long.
Well, there's a good rule of thumb that a lot of bakers use. As a general guide, you should probably knead most standard bread dough for about 10 to 12 minutes by hand. It's not a strict rule, but it's a reliable starting point. After about 10 minutes, you can check if it feels smooth and springs back when you poke it.
Oh, a rule of thumb like that is so helpful. 10 to 12 minutes gives me a much better idea of what to aim for. Thanks, Mark. That's much better than just knead until ready.
That was a perfect example. Mark provided a rule of thumb, a general, practical guideline of 10 to 12 minutes to help Mia with her bread making, giving her a useful starting point when the recipe's instructions were too vague.
Exactly. The idiom was used to offer a piece of practical advice based on experience, which was more helpful than a vague instruction, but not as rigid as a strict scientific rule.
It's a very common and useful idiom for sharing practical wisdom.
It is. So next time you need to give a general guideline or a rough estimate based on experience, you can offer it as a rule of thumb.
And we'd love to hear about a rule of thumb that you use in your daily life. What is it for? Share your practical tips in the comments section below this episode.
Great idea, Jack. Let's move on now to our second idiom in this episode of Idiom Insights. This one is about saving for the future.
Our second idiom today is save it for a rainy day.
Save it for a rainy day. This is another well-known proverb, isn't it? It sounds like it means to put something aside for when the weather is bad. What's the metaphorical meaning, Jack?
You're spot on, Emma. A rainy day in this idiom is a metaphor for a future time of trouble, need, or difficulty. So, to save something for a rainy day means to put aside a resource, usually money, but it can be other things too, when times are good, so that you will have it available to use in the future when you might face unexpected problems or financial hardship.
So it's about prudence and foresight, preparing for potential future difficulties by saving when you have a surplus. If you receive an unexpected bonus at work, instead of spending it all immediately on something frivolous, it would be wise to save at least some of it for a rainy day. That money could then be used for an unexpected car repair or a medical bill later on.
Precisely. It's the opposite of living hand to mouth. It's about building a safety net for yourself. The rainy day represents any unforeseen trouble that might arise. The idiom encourages us to be prepared for life's uncertainties.
It's a piece of advice that has been passed down through generations, I think. It's about the wisdom of not consuming everything you have immediately, but having the discipline to set something aside for future security.
Yes, it's a cornerstone of personal finance advice. While the something is usually money, you could also use it for other things. For example, if you have some extra firewood, you might save it for a rainy day, or in that case, a very cold day. Or you might save a special bottle of wine for a special occasion, which is a more positive version of a rainy day.
So, it's about deferring consumption now for security or enjoyment later.
Exactly. It's about planning ahead.
So, to save something for a rainy day means to put aside a resource, usually money, for a future time of need or trouble. Ready to hear Mia and Mark use this wise idiom?
Let's listen in. I wonder what resource one of them might be encouraged to save.
Mia, guess what? I found an old gift card in my wallet that I completely forgot I had. It has 50 pounds on it. It feels like finding free money. I'm so tempted to go out this afternoon and spend it all on that new video game I've been wanting.
Oh, finding a forgotten gift card is the best feeling, Mark. It's like a little unexpected bonus. That new video game does sound fun, and it's tempting to treat yourself immediately.
It really is. I was just about to head to the shop. It's not every day you get a free 50 pounds, right?
That's true. But have you thought about maybe not spending it right away? You were just saying last week that you were worried about not having much in your emergency savings account. Maybe it would be a good idea to put that 50 pounds aside and save it for a rainy day.
Save it for a rainy day, but it's so much more fun to spend it now. Still, you have a point. That last time my car needed an unexpected repair, I really struggled. Having an extra 50 pounds tucked away for a real emergency, a rainy day, would probably be the more sensible and responsible thing to do, even if it's less exciting.
It might be. Just a thought. The video game will still be there later.
That dialogue perfectly illustrates the idiom. Mia wisely advised Mark to save his unexpected 50 pounds for a rainy day, meaning for a future time of unexpected need or trouble, rather than spending it impulsively on a non-essential item.
Exactly. The idiom was used to encourage prudence and long-term thinking over immediate gratification. It highlighted the value of building a safety net for future emergencies.
It's a very common and very sensible piece of advice.
It is. So, next time you have some extra resources, consider the wisdom of saving it for a rainy day.
And we'd love to hear what you are saving for a rainy day, or what your rainy day fund has helped you with in the past. Share your stories in the comments below the episode.
Wonderful idea, Jack. Let's move on now to our third idiom in this episode of Idiom Insights. This one is about causing trouble.
Our third idiom for today is stir the pot.
Stir the pot. This makes me think of cooking, literally stirring a pot of soup or stew. But I have a feeling the idiomatic meaning is less about cooking and more about something else, Jack?
You're absolutely right, Emma. It's not about making soup. To stir the pot means to deliberately say or do something to cause trouble, provoke an argument, or make a situation more dramatic and contentious, especially a situation that was previously calm or stable. Just like stirring a pot agitates the contents, a person who stirs the pot agitates people and creates drama.
So it's about being a troublemaker or an agitator, often for one's own amusement or to see what happens. If a group of friends are having a calm discussion and one person deliberately brings up a very controversial topic that they know will cause an argument, that person is stirring the pot.
Precisely. Or in an office environment, if someone spreads a rumor or makes a provocative comment just to create conflict between two colleagues, they are stirring the pot. The intention is not to resolve anything, but to create discord and excitement.
It sounds like a very negative and often malicious behavior. The person stirring the pot seems to enjoy watching the drama they create unfold.
Yes, it's generally seen as a very negative trait. It implies a love of conflict or a desire to cause trouble for others. It's about making a bad situation worse, or creating a bad situation out of a calm one, just to see what will happen.
So, at a family gathering, if one relative keeps bringing up old family arguments or sensitive subjects, knowing it will upset everyone, they are deliberately stirring the pot.
Exactly. They are agitating the situation for no good reason.
So, to stir the pot means to deliberately cause trouble, provoke an argument, or make a situation more dramatic. Ready to hear Mia and Mark use this idiom?
Let's listen in. I wonder who they might be discussing who enjoys creating conflict.
Mark, I had a very awkward lunch with our old colleagues Sarah and David yesterday. Things have been a little tense between them recently over some work disagreements.
Oh, Sarah and David? Yes, I heard they had a falling out. So was the lunch an attempt to make peace, or was it just very uncomfortable?
Well, it started out a little quiet, but it was civil. They were being polite and avoiding the difficult subject. But then Tom, who was also there, decided to get involved.
Oh no, not Tom. He loves a bit of drama, doesn't he? What did he do?
He just couldn't help himself. He started saying things like, "Yo, so Sarah, are you still upset that David got all the credit for that project you worked on together?" He completely brought up the one topic they were trying to avoid. He just wanted to stir the pot and watch them argue. The atmosphere immediately became incredibly tense, and the lunch was ruined.
That's classic Tom. He has no interest in helping people resolve their issues. He just loves to stir the pot and create conflict for his own entertainment. That was a really unhelpful and mean thing for him to do.
That dialogue clearly illustrates the idiom. Mia described how Tom deliberately brought up a sensitive and contentious topic between Sarah and David, not to help, but simply to stir the pot and create drama and conflict.
Exactly. The idiom captured Tom's malicious intent to agitate a situation and provoke an argument for his own amusement. It perfectly described his role as a troublemaker.
It's a very common and descriptive phrase for that kind of deliberate agitation.
It is. So next time you see someone trying to cause trouble or arguments for no good reason, you might say they are stirring the pot.
And we'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Why do you think some people like to stir the pot? Share your psychological insights in the comments below the episode.
Wonderful idea, Emma. Now we've arrived at our fourth and final idiom for this episode of Idiom Insights. This one is about the value of action.
Our final idiom for today is talk is cheap.
Talk is cheap. This is a very direct and somewhat cynical saying. What does it mean when someone says talk is cheap, Emma?
It is a very direct proverb, Jack. Talk is cheap means that it is easy to say you are going to do something or to make promises, but it is much harder and more meaningful to actually take action and follow through. It expresses skepticism about someone's promises or claims, suggesting that their words are worthless unless they are backed up by actions.
So it's about the idea that actions speak louder than words. If someone constantly talks about all the great things they are going to do, like get fit, learn a new language, or start a business, but they never actually take any steps to do them, someone might say, talk is cheap. Their words have no value because they are not followed by action.
Precisely. It's often used as a response to someone making big promises or boasts, to express doubt, or to challenge them to prove their sincerity. It's a way of saying, don't just tell me, show me.
It implies that promises are easy to make. They cost nothing. They're cheap. But delivering on those promises requires real effort, commitment, and resources. Therefore, only actions have true value.
Yes, it's a very common sentiment in many cultures. You might hear it in politics when a politician makes many grand promises to voters. A skeptical citizen might say, talk is cheap, let's see if they actually deliver on those promises when they are in power.
So, if a friend promises to help you move house but then doesn't show up, that's a perfect example of their talk being cheap.
Exactly. The promise had no value.
So, talk is cheap is a proverb meaning that it is easy to make promises, but actions are what truly matter. Ready to hear Mia and Mark use this idiom?
Let's listen in. I wonder who might be making empty promises in their conversation.
Mia, I'm getting really frustrated with our new supplier for the office stationery. When we signed the contract, their salesperson made all these grand promises about next day delivery, excellent customer service, yet an unbeatable quality.
Oh, I remember their sales pitch. It did sound very impressive. So have they not lived up to their promises, Mark?
Not even close. Our last 2 orders have been over a week late. The quality of the paper is much lower than the samples they showed us. And when I tried to call their excellent customer service line yesterday, I was on hold for 45 minutes before I finally gave up.
Oh dear, that's a completely different reality from what they promised then. It sounds like all those impressive claims they made were just empty words to get us to sign the contract.
Exactly. It just goes to show you, doesn't it? Talk is cheap. It's easy for a salesperson to make big promises, but what really matters is whether the company can actually deliver on them. And in this case, they clearly can't. I'm going to have to make a formal complaint.
That dialogue perfectly illustrates the idiom. Mark used the proverb, talk is cheap, to express his frustration that the supplier's grand promises were not matched by their actual poor performance, highlighting that their words were worthless without the corresponding actions.
Exactly. The idiom captured his disillusionment with the empty promises and emphasized that the real measure of the company was their actions, which were failing badly.
It's a very common and powerful proverb for critiquing a lack of follow-through.
It is. So, next time you encounter someone making promises that aren't backed up by action, remember the old saying, talk is cheap.
And we'd love to hear your thoughts on this. In what situations do you think it's most important that talk is not cheap? Share your ideas in the comments below this episode.
We always appreciate reading your comments and perspectives. Well, Emma, we've explored 4 more really insightful and useful idioms in this episode of Idiom Insights.
We certainly have, Jack. Just to recap for everyone tuning into Idiom Insights today, we learned
Rule of thumb, meaning a general principle or practical guideline based on experience.
save it for a rainy day, a proverb advising to save resources for a future time of need.
Stir the pot, meaning to deliberately cause trouble or provoke arguments.
And talk is cheap, a proverb stating that actions are more important and valuable than words or promises.
4 more fantastic additions to your English idiom repertoire. Remember, the best way to make these phrases a natural part of your vocabulary is to actively listen for them in real-life conversations and media, and then to build your confidence by trying to use them yourself in appropriate contexts.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to experiment. The more you use them, the more comfortable and fluent your English will become, and the more you'll be able to express nuanced meanings with flair.
And if you enjoyed learning with us today, and we sincerely hope you did, please consider giving this episode of Idiom Insights a like and leaving us a positive review on your podcast platform. Your support helps us reach more learners and continue creating this content.
And make sure you hit that subscribe or follow button for Idiom Insights so you don't miss any of our future episodes, where we'll continue to unravel the wonderful and sometimes witty world of English idioms.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure exploring these phrases with you.
Keep learning, keep listening, and we'll talk to you again next time on Idiom Insights.
Goodbye, everyone.
See ya!